So, in the topic of cheating, I want to know, so once a cheater, always a cheater is something that I always hear. And this is also something that my mom used to tell me. So, once a cheater, always a cheater. Is that actually true?
Uh, well, no and yes.
Hello, hello. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to the Kathy the Panda podcast. I'm your host, Kathy, your friendly neighborhood bipolar girl just finding her way through life. If you're enjoying the show, please follow on Spotify, leave a 5-star rating, subscribe on YouTube, and drop a comment on whichever platform you're on. You know the drill, unless you're new here. Now, on to today's episode. Lying, trust, betrayal. Have you ever wondered if someone was lying to you and just, couldn't tell? Today's guest spent years as a private investigator finding out the truth for people who needed to know. And what he learned changed everything about how he sees love and relationships. My guest today is Chris Fields. Chris is a relationship coach, NLP Master Practitioner, and certified hypnotherapist based in Savannah, Georgia. A Marine Corps veteran and former private investigator, Chris spent years studying human behavior in high stakes environments before discovering neuro linguistic programming in 2014. He is the author of nearly 10 self published books and runs CB Fields Coaching, where he helps people break old patterns and build relationships that actually last. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so excited for our conversation. So, I just wanted to ask off the bat, what did your years as a private investigator actually look like day to day? Because honestly, before I was so interested in all these um, TV shows surrounding private investigators and cases, and it was so interesting to me. So, at one point in my life, I actually wanted to be a PI, but it's not really a very popular field in the Philippines. So I'm really interested. What did your day look like as a private investigator?
Well, very up and down and all around. It's not consistent whatsoever. I will
Yeah.
say, and I always tell people this, it sounds a lot cooler than it actually is. Uh,
Okay.
the ma- the majority the majority of PI work is done by insurance companies for insurance reasons. I've done it for a few years. Very boring. My brain works too quick to be sitting in a vehicle for 8 hours
Mm.
or more a day. So over the first few years, I found out surveillance really isn't my thing. I like to dig into information more, or interview people. I did really every type of case you can name. I like to, near the end, stick to criminal defense, help people or help businesses with due diligence. So investigating like investment wise, and people and board members, etc., like that. But there was no day that was really alike. Very inconsistent.
Yeah.
So um, it's not really a job I would recommend for someone. It sounds cooler than it is, I guess. But yeah, a lot's about information. Maybe 10% cool. 10% is really cool, and then the other is just.
Okay, okay, I see. I mean, it does really sound like a cool job. And I understand totally what you're saying about a job sounding really cool, but it actually isn't in real life because I used to work in PR and people always thought that working in PR was so glamorous and all that, but it's actually not. It's like so much work, late nights, sleeping on the floor of the office. It's like crazy.
Mm.
But yeah, what did that work teach you about, human behavior? Because you did a lot of surveillance, you studied a lot of people. What kind of human behavior insights did you get that you feel like you couldn't have learned anywhere else?
Well, I'm 39. I'll be 40 this year. And when I went into the Marine Corps when I was 17, and I will say that the majority of the things that I've learned in life always points back to the Marine Corps. They Because they basically take babies and teach them how to be adults. And that's really where, especially my job field in the Marine Corps, is where I picked up on having to understand body language, which is, I think, is about 65 to 67% of communication. So body language is extremely important when it comes to communicating to other people. And we primarily had to do that in the Marine Corps because a lot of people that you would interact with don't speak the same language that you speak. So you have to find other ways to communicate. So
Yeah.
that's really where, it was body language and understanding people and behaviors was born. Then I came out, I went to college, learning criminal law. I became a private investigator. And during that same period, I picked up on NLP. It's not really well known in the United States. It is in UK and other countries. But neurolinguistic programming, so basically identifying and changing the way your brain takes in and gives out communication, body language, etc., and the patterns and how to change the patterns. Very unique stuff. So I started studying that, and I got a minor in psychology at the same time, so it all kind of worked together.
Yeah.
So that helped me going into the field because I'm typically an introverted person, so it helped me,
Okay.
with the confident, not only the confidence of speaking with other people, but understanding, what lies beneath what they're saying and why are they saying the things that they're saying,
Mm-hmm.
and what transpired before they said that to make them say something or say it a specific way. It's very unique. So if you start to dial down the exact pieces, so I definitely use that not just in my career, but just
Yeah.
in general day-to-day life. It's just a great thing to learn. And does that answer? I already forgot the question. I just went on a tangent. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. It does, but I kind of want to also ask again, because my main question was, what did you learn about human behavior that you couldn't have learned anywhere else? And I think you kind of covered that question. And I want to jump to the next one. And I know that you have such an interesting career shift. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to know, like, how did you go from investigations to relationship coaching? And what was that transition like?
Well, I am a jack of all trades. It's just my personality.
Okay.
I've dabbled in a little bit of everything, so that's really just a me thing. But I do have a specific answer for that. Throughout any PI that ever works, especially if you start your own agency like I did, the marketing, you have to do marketing, accounting, everything. It's really hard. So at some point, at most points, you're taking any type of case, whether it's $10,000 or $500, and I've taken both. Sometimes you're at that point, you're like, I'll just take whatever. So one type of case is a dime a dozen is domestic cases. So it's custody or cheating spouses, etc. The first thing I let people know is courts in 2026, they don't really care, who's cheating on who, as long as children are okay and, let's separate finances, etc. But so I did a lot of domestic cases. They were not my favorite, but it became, instead of more of an investigative type of um, additive, I became more of like a crying shoulder or a therapist per se, and
Yeah.
helping people. And I tell people this all the time. What I concluded more times than none is a lot of these, especially cheating cases, people have created in their own mind and they never exist. And there's nothing you can find on these stories that people just created. And so I would have to obviously give the client the bad news. Like, I paid you money. They basically want the answer they were looking for.
Yeah.
But here I can give you the facts. And so it was kind of interesting because I had to learn how to converse with these people that were obviously in high emotional states. And it just kind of, I said, PI work's not really for me anymore. Being a coach is more my forte and it's more rewarding. So I already had the NLP stuff, so I just kind of shifted on numbers. So there was a shift there, just not a
Yeah.
complete change.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's still kind of somewhat related, but I love that you were able to find a path that feels more fulfilling for you than the past. And so you mentioned a lot of like domestic cases, and we're kind of gonna talk about relationships today, and betrayal, lying, broken trust and how to repair broken trust if that's possible. So I want to know, what are the common signs that someone is being dishonest?
Okay, so there you'll have body language experts per se. You'll see them on TV or the news, and really it's just for hype, because the truth is you have to know the person before you can really distinguish whether what a body language expert will give you is a little bit better than flipping a coin and it being on heads or tails. And that's just the honest truth, because what they don't have, and which is very significant to understand whether or not a person is being disingenuous, is, do you know the person? Do you know how they typically act? You have to have a baseline. And if you can't grade off whether they're lying or not off the baseline, you have nothing to go by. You might just be speaking to someone that's constantly frantic, or maybe someone that's autistic. If you chose a random person to ask them questions and they happen to be highly autistic, you're going to think, oh, this person's fidgety. They must be lying, and all these they must be lying type of shoot from the hip quotes or statements. They really don't count for anything. So the body language expert, if you see on any type of news and they're looking at some high celebrity profile case and this, I can tell by the way they're doing this and that,
Yeah.
it's usually not true at all. You took a lucky guess if you end up being right.
Yeah.
So the truth is, you got to know someone typically. Now, I will give you this. The two things that are pretty spot on. Now, you can study micro expressions. You can buy books on them all day long. It'll tell you how the face moves, how the hands moves, and blah, 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 what typically may lead back to lying. But again, you need the baseline. But I can tell you two things that I have picked up that, to my knowledge, have never been incorrect is when you ask someone an important question directly and they take the pause and then they say, what? They're stalling. And the stalling is typically an indicator that whatever they're going to say next is not true. And
Okay.
and something that I never learned or read about, something I just picked up. I think I might have even written a blog about it a few years ago. I can't recall, but something that I've noticed, and it's been dead on every time, is when you ask somebody a question, you'll see, which would be a micro expression, you'll see their jaw drop. It'll unclench in their mouth. So they'll have their mouth closed, and it would barely drop where their teeth are not connected anymore. And I guess there's not really a good scientific explanation for it.
Okay.
My explanation for it over the years is their mouth is saying, I have something to say, but their brain is saying, hold up, let's figure out what to say first, because it's going to be a
Oh.
lie. That's the best explanation I can give. But I know every time somebody does that, 100% of the times, it's not going to be truthful. So I would look out for it. Or test the waters on it. It's never steered me wrong. So
Okay. I'm going to start testing that with my conversations with people I know. Because I also want to eliminate the fact that there might be other factors, like you mentioned earlier, if I kind of want to gauge if a person is lying to me or not. But if I don't know this person, it'll be harder for me to do that. So I'm going to do a test on people I actually know and kind of see if that kind of works for me. So why do you think people lie even in relationships where they feel safe? They feel like they're in a happy, loving relationship, but sometimes, you get surprised when you hear about a couple breaking up because you knew they were like so happy and they were so perfect together. But then why do people lie even in happy relationships?
well, I have three answers for that actually.
Okay.
Now that you framed it that way, um, first off, there's a rare group that uh, are we talking about lying or cheating? We'll say lying.
Okay. Yeah.
Or they kind of go hand in hand,
Yeah.
but um, mainly because they miss their old self, a self they
Okay.
are no longer a part of. But in their head, they're missing the old self of them. This is why people lie or slash cheat. That's rare. Um, Secondly, we have to define what is happy, because we'll find that in most cases it everything checks the box, but we're not actually happy because there's a few things that they may be little, but they can what's the saying, death by a thousand splinters or death by a thousand thorns. The small things add up so quickly.
Yeah.
And a third angle for an answer is, you specifically said, where everybody looks at them and says, oh, they were so happy. Well, I can tell you from experience that is almost never the case. As a matter of fact, the high majority of the clients that I had for cheating cases like that or domestic violence was the beautiful family photo social media families.
Yeah.
It was always them. It's like, wow, what a shocker. But they put up this beautiful, I'm not saying intentionally put up a fake portrait of themselves, but it's typically exactly those people that mask what's really going on. And you would just really be surprised how many skeletons are in people's closets. But yeah, I guess the center of that is we really got to define what is happy, because typically it's not you won't have one bad party of the two. It's typically a little bit here and a lot there, or a little bit here and a lot there. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does. Okay. I also want to talk about, so I'm sure you're aware that we girls specifically, we have like this female intuition where we say, like, when we feel something's off, 9 times out of 10, something is off. So we go by our gut, by our intuition, and most of the time we're right. But I want to know, what is the difference between a healthy intuition and paranoia? Because some people are just really paranoid. They feel something, but nothing really is happening. So what's the difference between healthy intuition and paranoia in a relationship?
Well, first, I'll say women. You'll say women are always right. Women are more emotional. They use their emotions more. So this is why they use their intuition, or what I wrote is I wrote a blog on it called "Trust Your Gut." It's a gut instinct.
Okay.
There's a lot of science to back the gut instinct or intuition. As a matter of fact, this is why people say go with your first answer or your first choice. It's because your subconscious or unconscious mind, however you want to word it, processes information more than your conscious mind 500,000 times faster. 500,000 times faster.
Wow.
So this means when you're just acting day to day, even in your sleep, the things you're seeing, whether it's your peripheral vision, smell, taste, hear, everything, your brain, your subconscious mind's constantly picking it up. Everything, and it's going through your filter systems. And so your gut feeling is basically your brain saying, caution, there's an issue here. We're not sure what that is yet, but something's not adding up. This is why gut instinct and intuition is extremely important. And where you divide the line between what is paranoia, that's a hard answer, really. If I took a situation like that, bare bones, nothing attached to it, I would first say, for starters, how long has this been going on? Secondly, have you analyzed yourself? Self-analysis is extremely important. So there could be something from the person that keeps having the paranoia or possible paranoia. I would analyze this person to make sure that their past experiences, and especially their childhood, there's nothing in between there that is triggering these types of paranoia. I'm sorry, my earbuds are really, I don't know why, they just don't want to stick. So I'm going to I don't know what's going to go on, but sorry, they keep bothering me. But
no, you're good. Can you still hear me fine? Okay. All right,
yeah,
perfect. Yeah. In terms of like,
well, to add, real quick,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, just the last piece. So the self-analysis, but have conversations. This is why conversations are so important. I would have these two people figure out, hey, what's happening to make you keep accusing me or whatever, because it can't last forever. So we need to figure that part out and then move forward. And if it doesn't move forward, then that's fine. But
Yeah. I actually just want to share like a little, I guess it's a little story about how I am in terms of like intuition and paranoia. Now, today I know it's paranoia, but when my boyfriend and I started dating, or when we moved in together, I would leave the house for whatever reason. I have a nail appointment or I'm going out with friends. And I would always have this thought in my head where I'm like, oh my gosh, he's probably having a girl over while I'm away. And so I never text him when I'm on my way home. And I just want to just come home and kind of like take him by surprise. And I know now that it's paranoia. And I think a part of that is because I've gotten to know him more as a partner and as a person. And also, I've gotten to know myself more or accepted the fact that I do have trust issues. So before I would think, oh my gosh, it's my intuition telling me something. But now I can clearly say, oh no, I'm just being paranoid. And I think that speaks about how you said about being, kind of self-aware or aware of, the situation. And I do agree that talking it out helps because that's how I grew to, know more about my partner. And he also kind of gives me the assurance and tells me like, hey, I'm not this kind of person, I would never do that to you, I have never in the past cheated on any of my partners. And because I come from a different, relationship history, like I have been cheated on 3 times, my brain is kind of wired differently. So so in the topic of cheating, I want to know. So, once a cheater, always a cheater is something that I always hear. And this is also something that my mom used to tell me. So, once a cheater, always a cheater. Is that actually true?
uh, well, no and yes. Okay, so
Okay.
no, it's not true. To simply answer the question, however, individuals that cheat on a partner are 2 to 3 times more likely to cheat again. So
Okay.
the numbers aren't great, but it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily. I mean, they can say, "I'm never cheating again," and mean it, and that may be the case. So it's not always a cheater, but the probability is statistically higher. Yes,
Okay. It's higher, but it's not a guarantee that they're going to cheat again,
correct.
basically. Okay.
Right, right.
Gotcha. All right. And I also want to know because I have dated all I've dated in the past are cheaters. Not my current boyfriend. I am very confident that he will never cheat on me. But my past relationships, everyone cheated on me. And my first boyfriend, I was very forgiving towards him. We were together for 4 years, and when I tell you he cheated on me over 10 times, I'm not exaggerating. Um, but I kind of want to know, can a relationship survive an affair? Like, if we worked on our relationship after him cheating on me, regardless how many times, can it still be repaired? And what does it take for us to make the relationship work after an affair?
So yes, it can be repaired, and approximately a third of relationships repair after infidelity
Mm-hmm.
or cheating, and they are, even though it's only 30%, but they repair stronger than an average relationship, so way stronger. What it
Okay.
requires is definitely a professional. It's I can sit here and say you need to have longer conversations, this and that, but it really requires in this type of situation a professional, someone like myself, someone a therapist, anyone that has an unbiased view that can take a macro view of the whole situation and both of you individually compare and contrast and then guide you through creating a stronger relationship build. So yes, it very possible, but definitely reach out to a third party to because inevitably if you don't have the, especially after 4 years, if you don't have the proper tools, it's going to be a continuous pattern.
Yeah.
And a pattern is a good indicator that it will never be, it'll never fix itself. So, yep.
You need some intervention. Okay. Um, so some people, and this is a common like debate, I would say, that I would see online, especially with people my age. If there's content surrounding, would you consider this cheating? Would you consider this cheating? And they like give different scenarios. And I feel like a lot of people think something is cheating, and another group of people will think it's not cheating. So then came the idea of micro cheating. So I kind of am curious, is micro cheating a real thing, or where is the line that we draw? I know it's about boundaries, but how do we draw the line between micro cheating and actually cheating if they are two different things?
Good question. Great question, actually, and I have an easy answer. But before, I will say that I had a debate, a very long debate on YouTube a few years ago about this, and my stance has changed now.
Okay.
About it was more in the lines as flirting, healthy versus not, and I said, I think it is. I've come to, I'm the first person to always admit if I'm incorrect in something, which is very few. But I think my mind has changed on that.
Yeah.
The best way to answer that question, micro cheating or flirting or anything in that realm, is if you're cheating with secrecy, if you're being secret to your partner, if it's not something that you can do right in front of them, it is cheating. Yes. Whether it's micro or macro, it is cheating.
Okay, okay. I love that there's such a simple answer to that, and it does make a lot of sense. Because if it wasn't cheating, like, yeah, why would you keep it from someone? Um, Now, I obviously this is common behavior or thoughts or feelings felt by someone who has been cheated on. And normally we blame ourselves. We're like, why was I not enough? What was, missing from me? What was lacking in me that they felt they had to go outside the relationship to fulfill that? And so I kind of want to clarify, is it ever the betrayed partner's fault that their partner cheated? Are these like feelings valid? Like maybe did I really have a shortcoming that led him to cheat on me?
It is almost never 100% one person's fault. Almost every single time, the other person, the one that got betrayed, plays part. Not much, but statistically, the number one reason people cheat is they're lacking something in their relationship. Whether they know what it is exactly, whether they can name it, their unconscious brain knows what it is.
Yeah.
So they're seeking that validation and they're seeking that empathy or that attention elsewhere. Again, they might not know why, but it's because there's a lack thereof in the relationship, which probably goes back to they're not intentionally communicating, having conversations daily or weekly. And there's a difference between intentional and just talking.
Yeah.
Um, so if it goes unnoticed, that tends to happen, lacking that. So that means the partner that got betrayed was not fulfilling that part of the relationship, and they may not know what it is either. So conversations, as simple as they are, can solve a lot of things.
Yeah.
But yes, it's almost never 100% of a person's fault. It's easy to blame someone that did something
Yeah.
wrong, and they made the decision. They're the one that's at fault, of course. But did the other person play a part into this? Yeah, typically, not intentionally, but yes. I mean, it does. It's a two-way street. So
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So when trust is broken, I want to say I believe that trust can be rebuilt. I feel like it can be fixed. But how do you actually rebuild trust after being cheated on?
so to not to understand just NLP, neuro linguistic programming, but to understand life in general. and especially people that study NLP understand that everything runs off of patterns. Your brain runs off patterns. Everything you do, everything's patterns. So how to rebuild that trust isn't saying, I promise, my mom's great. It's nothing that you can say. You have to show action. You can't only show action, you have to show consistency of the action. You have to create a pattern of, hey, please give me trust. We both understand what I did incorrectly. Here's what I'm going to do to fix it, and then actually begin to do what it takes to fix it. So that when you have a steady, consistent pattern, which will take time, I know people want to snap their fingers and say, okay, we're going to be okay, but it's going to take time to see that pattern, and for the other person to be desensitized to whatever trauma or issue happened in their relationship. So consistency would be the quickest answer. Yes.
Okay. So I feel like that's related to my next question. So my next question is, how do you know when to stay and work on it versus when to walk away? So I'm guessing if you're not seeing any change, that would be kind of an indicator for you to kind of just, walk away because it's not worth it. But I want to hear it like from you. Like, what would you say would be like a good threshold of like when to stay and when to walk away?
Yes, that's exactly it. If there's no consistency, and don't be afraid to put timelines on it. You can't say
Yeah.
things unrealistic, like, next week, if things aren't, be realistic about it. Say, let's visit this 6 months from now, see what happened. Put a time, and people don't do this on arguments, but it's extremely healthy. If you're heated and your nervous system is shutting down, if you begin to yell, your nervous system's already agitated. Simply say, let's take a break and come back in 20 minutes. Just do it. Treat it like a business. It gives you time to everything to cool off, recollect. So what I mean is, don't leave an open-ended, let's talk about this later. Set a date, and if the patterns are the same, which are dysfunctional or toxic patterns, then you're not working out. Move on.
Yeah. So you mentioned timelines. What is a realistic timeline? Because I could like expect so much from my partner and say, hey, I need to see change in 2 weeks. Is that like, I feel like that's not enough time to prove to me that you've actually changed. So what is like a realistic timeline to look at when you're trying to sort things out together?
Well, it definitely depends on the issue, and it definitely depends on the individuals. So it's hard for me to give a ballpark number. I
Okay.
will say this, in terms of healing over an ex or getting over something like cheating, I can't quote the numbers offhand, the roundabout numbers, but it's generally a lot longer than you think. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So we're talking infidelity, we're talking a year plus. If cheating, getting over your ex, this is a huge issue. Is where people break up, split up, divorce, etc., and then immediately you jump into new relationships.
Yeah.
You did not. That window that was for healing, you ruined, and now you just brought all of that into the new one, and those typically don't last either because of that reason.
Yeah.
So the best answer I can give is a lot longer than you think.
Okay. Gotcha. And so since you mentioned about bringing in kind of like your past issues and traumas into the new relationship, my next question is like super related. So how do you stop punishing your new partner for what your ex did? Because I personally am guilty of that as well. Like because my three exes cheated on me, my current boyfriend is paying for it in a way because I am very doubtful of him and I question a lot of things about him. And that's kind of, I feel like that's me punishing him in a sense for what my exes have done to me. So, how do we stop doing that?
Well, if you skipped beyond the healing point, which is crucial, and you went straight into a relationship and you're already there, for starters, have conversations every time it pops up. And there's two different types of people you're talking about here. Is it a person that realizes what they're doing or someone that's oblivious to causing issues from a past relationship?
Yeah.
Does the person realize, I shouldn't be treating this person like this because of my ex? Do they realize that? Well, then that's good right there off the bat. So at least you know what's going on. You talked about it. You know what's going on. Secondly, there is most definitely, again with patterns, there's most definitely something that's triggering those moments. So you have to dig deep into yourself and shift the submodalities that's creating that agitation when whatever happens and it's triggering that moment. You have to fix that yourself. It's not something a partner can help you with.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And you talked about the healing period for a person. And I know part of that healing process is, of course, trying to move on. But what is the biggest mistake people make when trying to move on from betrayal? You mentioned earlier is skipping the healing part, which is like jumping into a next relationship. And so that's kind of like a rebound situation. But what else are like the common mistakes that people make when they try to move on from betrayal?
So, yes, that's number one. Number two, which is more of a general answer, is anything important because your brain is not properly working. As a matter of fact, they've proven that breakups, divorce, and cheating, that type of trauma can have just as much physical pain to you than getting struck by a vehicle. So, well, I made that example. I wasn't giving that example, but pain, physical pain.
Yeah.
So your brain is not working well at the time. So anything, not just the first 48 hours, but really about a month, I would say. Don't make any quick judgments. I'm packing all my things and moving across country. Your brain is not in the position to be making any serious decisions. Just get over it, rip the Band-Aid off, deal with the emotions. And once you get past that hump to where you're not triggered as easily or agitated when you think about whatever it is that happened, once you're beyond that hump, then it's time, okay, I can make solid decisions about the future or where I want to be or where I want this to be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Chris, this has been such a fascinating conversation. Like, it really helped me understand more about trust and relationships because that's something that's, it really hits close to home for me because I personally have a lot of trust issues. I have a lot of history with being betrayed by past partners, friends. Um, but yeah, before we wrap up, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with? Any, final thoughts or pieces of advice?
It's self-analysis is very underrated. I have some free assessments on my website. Okay. You don't have to put in an email address or anything. You just go there and take them. But understanding yourself is so underrated and it's very important for not just yourself, but any relationship. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So you did mention your website. So before I let you go as well, please tell everyone where they can find you, follow you, or, work with you.
It's mrcbfields.com, or you can go to icoachlove.com. It goes straight to the same site.
Okay.
And like I said, there's a lot of free information on there, questions and answers and assessments. So.
Okay. Are you also active on socials or your website is your primary platform?
Yeah, I don't have many followers though, so I typically don't put it out there. I'm just trying to slowly build, but I don't even know my handles off hand actually. So.
No worries. Yeah. So if you can, I'll shoot you an email and you can send those to me. I'll add everything on the show notes. So that people can find you more easily and, maybe reach out if they need any help. I'm sure your website is full of very helpful resources, like the assessment that you just mentioned. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. This was such a good one. Again, personally, it's so important to me what we just talked about. And I feel like a lot of our listeners are going to get something so useful out of it. This topic is very sensitive, but at the same time, it's very real to many people. So I know that we are helping people with this podcast. So to my listeners, as always, thank you for spending some time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, again, please leave a 5-star rating, follow the podcast so you never miss an episode, and drop a comment. I want to know, have you ever had to rebuild trust in a relationship, or have you been cheated on, or have you ever cheated on someone? And, let's just keep this conversation going. Yeah, and on that note, we'll see you again next time. Until then, sending love, life, and hope your way. Bye.